Hello, YouTube. My name is Asa, and I'm a science teacher in the state of New York. And I'm putting together a series of teaching using the Google Education Suite to help teachers who will have to teach from home during this time of um, during a time where you need to be at home because your school district is closed for unforeseen reasons. But this would really help you still teach your students, still get the information to the students that you want them to have, and therefore there'll be no lag in time. Sometimes you're at home and you're sick at home and you can't be in school. You can still teach your students through this, or at least get them information so that you can still complete your curriculum in a specified amount of time. So I'll be putting together a series of videos, starting from how to just get started, right, and moving on to more advanced features that you can do online and remotely, and still get your students engaged and actively using Google. So hopefully your school has invested in the Google Education Suite. Here in New York, my school certainly has, and most teachers are taking full advantage of it. If not all the teachers are taking full advantage of it. So I'm just going to give you a rundown. So when you log into your Google um, account, you'll be presented with something like this. And over here, what I've blocked here is just my ID. But you have Gmail over here where you've accessed Gmail. It says images here, and you have this waffle-like tiles, right? I like to call them the tiles on the top right corner. So all you have to do is to get started, log into your account, your Google account, and then click on this. And if you have invested in Google, what you're going to see here in Google Education Suite, what you're going to see here is a whole bunch of apps here, Google apps that we can use. Okay, to get started, I want to get you into Drive. Okay, so let's go to Drive first. Drive is kind of like your a file explorer on your desktop. All right, this is where all your files are. Your quick access, the things you've accessed recently are right up here. You can change the way this appears by clicking on this icon here, and all of a sudden you've got it more tabulated, like where you're not really where you don't just see the names, but they kind of appear. Your files appear as tiles. Okay, so let's just go back to this really quickly. Okay, so here's what we have. This is my drive. This is my drive, and this is where I've created all my folders and such. Okay, so to get started, one thing that you can do is if you go over here to the left and you click on New, all right, here you can create a folder. So I'm just going to create a folder for the purpose of instruction, of helping you just get started. Click on Folder, and you can name anything, all right? So I'm going to name this Teaching from Home. Teaching from Home, okay? And I create this folder. And this folder will appear somewhere here, all right? And if you just go down the list, usually it appears. I've set it up in such a way that they're all in alphabetical order over here. So I'm going to go all the way down, and I'm going to find Teaching from Home, and where is it? There we go, Teaching from Home. All right, so it highlights it for me once I create it. So I click on that, and in my Teaching from Home folder, I have nothing obviously because I just started it. So I could do a number of things here. I could add new documents, and my advice is, even if this was a course, Teaching from Home, let's say I have different units within this course, I would go here and set up new folders for the unit. So I'll say, okay, Unit 1, and within the unit, and I create my unit folder, and within the unit, maybe I have, I don't know, 5 lessons, and I click to get in the unit, and I'll go back here really quickly. I'll double click to get into my unit, and I can create another folder for, let's say, I don't know, lesson 1 of that unit, okay, and create. So within this lesson folder, now I can put some documents in here. So I like to organize everything in terms of folders, so I know exactly where to find it. So for my various courses that I teach, I have a specific folder for that course. Then within that course folder, I have units, and then within those units, I have lessons. And in my lessons, I could do a number of things. I can have worksheets that I want the students to complete. So I'd go to Google Docs, and when I create uh, a file from now on in this folder of lesson one, it will stay in here and won't go anywhere else. So that's another piece of advice is whatever you create in the folder stays in the folder. And my advice is create everything in the folder so you're well organized. So this is one way to organize it. So here I would create my first lesson. Let's say I title my first lesson, lesson one. Let's just call it lesson one. And here I'll have, whatever lesson, whatever worksheet that I want the students to complete. And we'll get back to this later in terms of how students can complete this, right? So lesson one is maybe how to open Drive. Maybe that's one of the questions I have. How to get into Drive, into Google Drive. Let's call it that. Right, how to get into Google Drive. That's the first lesson. Then now say, okay, sequence the steps. Sequence the steps. Right. So I could ask students to do that. The one way you can, what I ask my students to do a lot of times is if I have a worksheet and I want them to complete the worksheet, but I want to see their work and I don't want to focus so much on my work, I'll ask them to complete their work in a different color. So when the students go in, they'll go in and they'll answer this question and go up here and choose a different font color and start typing the answer. All right, double click. I don't know if that was the answer. That's what it would be. Double click. And students would answer this way. A newer way that I've, to kind of save the students time from using a different color ink, but it's a little bit of work on your front end, would be to have the students, for yourself actually, to create a text box. And the way you do it in Google Docs is that you would have to insert a table. So what I like to do is I would insert the table, and this is where I want the answer. But then I'll go ahead and I'll color the table. So if I move over here to the bucket, I can give it a background color, and that helps me instead of looking for the answers. I know this is where the answer is going to be, and when the student types in here, double click. I'm not going to be looking at all this white space. I'll be looking just strictly at the blue box for the answer. So that's a really quick way to kind of get the students to answer in the Google Doc, and you can actually see the answer. So this is organization. It helps you save time, it saves the students time as well from using a different color ink. And if you didn't ask them to use a different color ink and they use black, then you have to read your work and try to figure out where their work starts, which can be quite time consuming. So notice that I have not titled my document. But watch this. If I go up here to the left and just click, it names the document after the first words in my document. So this is lesson one, and that name stays. Now, if we go back to the drive of lesson one, you see what happened. It created lesson one. So now that's all titled. I don't have to retitle it. Now you feel free to change the title anytime you want to change it. The cool thing about Google is that anything you put in here, it's automatically saved. As you can see here, all changes are saved to Drive. It automatically saves it. Okay, so that is really, really cool. Okay, so let's go back into Drive. So we created this one, worksheet. But let's just say, and I'll get back to more advanced features that we can do with Google Docs, what I like to do personally. But let's just get back to Drive here really quickly. So the next thing I want to do is I want to create a PowerPoint. So if you go back to New, click on New, and you click on Google Slides, boom, it brings up a slide. So my title, I'm going to use the same title, Lesson 1. So here's where I have more of a presentation mode of what I want to do. Now, with this presentation, if you go here to the right where you have themes, you can kind of choose the themes you want to use. I really go with a more traditional white space and add some images to that if I would like to add images. So here are some of the different themes you can choose. Um, I just like going with white space because I've got a little more versatility as to what I can do with that white space. But you could do anything you want. I could switch to that one and boom, here's lesson one. So, if you want to make it a little more engaging, a little more colorful and so forth. Now, let's say I want to add an image to this, but I don't want the subtitle here, so I can get rid of the subtitle, and I want to add an image. If you go up here to insert and click on that, you can go to images, and you can either upload them from your computer or you can search in the web. So let's just search in the web. And here I'm giving a search tool, so I'm in Google Images now, and I'm going to click lesson plan template, lesson plan. Here we go. So I have some images of a lesson plan. Not that'll be the first picture that you would have here, but let me click on that, and I've selected this image, and I'm going to insert. So here we go. Here is the image that I'm going to use for this first one. Now, again, keep in mind, we always have to be conscientious of images created by other people and properly cite them. Make sure they're royalty free. Make sure you're not copywriting anything. That's very important, of course. All right, so here is this, Google image. So here is my PowerPoint slide, and then as you move on and you want to change, if I want to change the presentation of this, the layout, I'd go up here to File, click on File, and go all the way down to Page Setup. I generally like the standard 4:3. 4:3 ratio is what I like, and once you click Apply, it actually changes it for you. So if that's your style, which is kind of like my style, this is how I like to present it because it's very similar to Microsoft PowerPoint. I just like this a lot better. I just think it's a lot cleaner. But everybody's different. So, and then in here, of course, you can adjust your images, and you could type. You can add text box if you want. You can insert a text box, right here. I don't know what the text box would be for this one in particular. I can click Drive. Maybe I want to, I'm just talking specifically about Drive. I can change the font by highlighting it and going up to here. And I love to use Helvetica, light. I love to use that. I can, change the font size as well. I go 40 a lot of times with titles, and 24 with just points, bullet points. The best advice is the fewer bullet points you have on your slides, obviously the better. It kind of allows students to kind of move through your slides very quickly and just get whatever you're trying to teach them in little snippets. But okay, so these are the many things you could do. You can bold this, you can italicize it. Anything you do in Word, you can pretty much do here. Okay, you can change the color of it if you like. If I want red instead, or if I want something, a little brighter, whatever you like to do, you can pretty much do it right here in Slides. So again, we want to, and I'm going to get rid of this, and we want to name our presentation. Again, if you click here, boom, lesson 1. All right. Okay, so that's how to handle slides. So it's just like PowerPoint. If you ever use PowerPoint, it's pretty much the same thing. A few things here and there that are a little bit different, but more advanced things. But this series is about just getting you started if you have never used this before. Okay, so we've got our slides, and we've got our worksheet back in Drive now. Let's just say, you know what? After this lesson, I want to see how the kids did. So like an exit slip. And if you're the kind of teacher that likes to do kind of like a fast 5 right in the beginning of your lesson, you want to do some stuff, I'll go back here to new, and this time I'll go down to more, and you see this says Google Forms here. All right, and the other apps here, Google Drawings, which I've used before. I don't use it as much now, but it's there. So here's Google Forms. You can click on that, and once you get into Forms, you title your form. Of course, the title of my form is going to be Lesson 1. All right, here we go. And then I can add some questions. You can add different types of questions, and as we get into this, I'll show you. You can have multiple choice, okay, questions. We can have short answer responses. We can have paragraph forms. Now, when you click a multiple choice question, we're just going to call this question one, and for options, you can click what the options are. A, you can make it A, B, C, add to all. You could do that, or you can go back and I'll show you. You could do this individually as well. Like if you don't like these options they give you, you just click add an option, add an option, add an option. That's automatically changing this to A, B, C, D. But this could be anything. This could be like, I could say blue, red, orange, yellow. Okay, so here it is. I've created my multiple choice question. The next step here is what if I wanted to create a short answer response? Okay, what if I wanted to create a short answer response with this? So let's go ahead and create that short answer response. And so I'll simply, right here, I have a menu. Here, I can add images as well. I can import questions from other forms. If I have other forms, I can import questions from there. I could add a title and description. I could add an image if I want to add an image. I could add a video, from YouTube, a URL. I could do that. I could also split my sections in the same form if I would like to. If let's say the first was how to get into Drive, and the next set of questions was how to create a Google Doc, I could split those up by sections. Be creative. You're the teacher. You have this at your disposal. So next I would add a question. So I click add question, and I go down here. Now this time I want to create a short answer response. Okay, and I'm just going to title this question too. And you could title them whatever you want. And this is really where your question goes, right here. And same thing here with question one. This is where the question actually goes. And down here I have my short answer responses. Okay. And then I add another question, and this time I want the students to respond like an extended response question. So I want a paragraph. I want to choose paragraph. All right, and this would be question 3. And again, this is where the question goes. And when the students answer, they answer in the paragraph. So now, if you've noticed, all down here we can duplicate a question if we want. We can trash the question if we don't like it. We could also make it required. In other words, the students would have to complete the question in order to submit the form. So I'm going to go ahead and click this required. Boom, right there. And we have these 3 as well here, which show the description, validation, response, and so forth. So I click required for all these. Okay. And when I click required, it means the students cannot move on unless they answer. Now, this is still not one in which it's not a quiz just yet. Again, to title it really quickly, it will be automatically by default. The title will be whatever title I put here. So if I click here, boom, I can always change that if I want to. It's also in the folder. I can move to a different folder if I want. These are more advanced features, of course. But if I want to make this a quiz, I would go up here to settings. I've got the gears over here. Click on that. Go to settings. And I'm going to collect email addresses because, and then I'm going to limit it to 1 response. I don't want my students to give me more than 1 response because 2 things. I'm trying to see if they understand, so I'm evaluating my lesson. And the second thing is I don't want to have too many responses to go through. All right, the presentation is how you want this presented. You want to show a progress bar to show the students how they're doing. You want to shuffle the questions, shuffle the order of the questions for each student. You could do that. And if you want to make it a quiz, you click here, quizzes, and click make it a quiz. Now, if the feature is on, I've actually used this only once in Google Forms. I found that I think when I tried it at first, it was more of a beta test, and it didn't work so well. But the idea is that if you click on turn on lock mode, once the students enter your form, they will not be permitted to click on any other tabs, right? They'll just have to finish your form first. That way, students can't go looking for information once they get into this form, okay? So that's one way that you can get you can get students to make sure the students are not cheating. Of course, if they have a cell phone in their hands, smartphone right next to them, you're never going to know, right? So for that reason, I kind of leave it out, and unless they are taking a test, then I do lock it up, and also go around, walk around, proctor the students. But we're talking about remote teaching, and you're really not going to have, you're not going to be able to really police whether they have a smartphone next to them or not to look up answers. But you trust that the students actually want to get better, and they want to know how well they've done. So you can either click turn on lock mode or not. We'll leave it up to you to decide. But save this. Once I made this a quiz, I have other things that popped up. I have this, which I'll show you in a more advanced video what this is. This is known as Equatio, and I'll show you that in a more advanced video. But what this allows me to do now, it allows me to put an answer key in. So I click an answer key, and I go in here, I'll make this worth 1 point, and the answer is red, and click done. Or if the multiple answers, I can go back and say, okay, this is going to be red and blue, or 3 answers, whatever, right? So I just changed the answer to orange. So it's orange, so I click on that. So now it shows me what the answer is. The students will not be able to see this. This is for you, the creator of the forum. I like to click an answer key. I like to go back off answer key to go to my next question. So as I go to my next question, now what this is a short answer response. So when I go to answer key, if let's say the answer is, yellow, I have to, if you want this to grade the students, and I can make this worth 2 points because it's short answer response. If you want the program to grade the students, then you have to write down all the different ways they might write down yellow. They might write down yellow this way or yellow this way, right? You can specify when you give you instructions to say, hey, use uppercase letters or put a space after or before units if you're doing math or physics or any kind of science. You could specify what the students should do. And then you click mark all other answers incorrect. That means if a student does not enter yellow, they're not going to get credit. If a student doesn't enter yellow in this format and instead they enter, I don't know, YEL and then space LOW, that's not going to work, right? They're not going to get credit. So I'm done. So I click done and I go back here. And then I'm going to go to my extended response. A little bit tougher to grade. I found that I have to go back and look at all the short answer responses. Here we go. You can add an answer feedback. It doesn't really allow you to put a response for the paragraph because you're going to have to go in and grade it. So I can make this worth 3 points and then click done. So my form is now ready. If I go up here, I've got questions and responses. If I don't want the students to respond until, I don't know, Friday, I'm going to turn off accepting responses so no one can actually answer this form. When I feel like maybe they have spent enough time with the work and I want to turn on the evaluation, I can go ahead and turn it on. So you can turn this on and off depending on, how you feel. And then it tells you here what this form is worth. It's worth 6 points. Okay. Another feature there is here is a spreadsheet where you can create a spreadsheet for collecting all your responses. So if I click on this, I can set get email notifications to all my new responses. I can get that if I'm doing something else, and I want to make sure that I get notifications when the students have answers, so I can put it in the grade book. I can do that. I can select where the response is going to go. I can download all the responses, and when I click this, it gives me a Google spreadsheet of all the responses that I have. That's not where I want. Okay, or I click on this, I can create a spreadsheet for all the responses. So here's create a new spreadsheet, lesson 1 responses, create that, or select existing spreadsheet if I want to add the new responses to that. In general, I've seen some teachers take this and decide that they're going to make a different form for a different class. So here's where I'll get all my responses, email addresses of all my students, the score that they had, how they did in the question 1, question 2, question 3, how they did. There's a timestamp of when they did it. If it was due at midnight tonight and the students did it tomorrow, it'll tell me that they did it tomorrow. So that's a cool feature here. And then, of course, you could do anything you want with the spreadsheet. You can create graphs if you're collecting data and you want to see how they did as far as data is concerned. This is a good place to do all that, right? In this day and age of accountability, this is a very useful tool. If you really want to see the kids improving or not improving, right? You can create graphs and bar graphs, or chart other different types of graphs. So I'm going to get out of here. Another thing is, once you have enough responses here, Google actually gives you like where the students have done well, where they have not done well, as far as the responses are concerned. So you would actually see that here charted in the graph, and you could also use that as well. Okay, so I'm going to get out of here. And so these are just the many ways that we can use Google Education Suite to create our documents that we're going to feed into the students. So in a later video, in a follow-up video, I'm going to use what we've created here in a classroom. So click on the next video, and let's keep the lessons going. Thank you for joining me. Look forward to the next one.